Hello everybody. Today, I'm going to be talking about Superman and Lois episodes 7 and 8. Let's go. So these two episodes have been focused a lot more on the overarching story of the season, and less on the kind of family drama stuff. And so, as I've said in previous reviews, I've enjoyed the family drama stuff a lot, sometimes a little bit more than the overarching story of the season, but I do think that it was a good idea to kind of delve more into, give some answers to a lot of the questions that audiences have had. So I think it was a good idea to kind of dedicate these two episodes to, furthering the overarching story of the season. And of course, both episodes still had some of the family drama. I think episode 8 had a little bit more than episode 7, but it still kept that a little bit in it. But I'll talk about just episode 7. So we really get a lot of answers about the Stranger, Captain Luthor, or now we know John Henry Irons is his actual name. We learn a lot of stuff about him in this episode. We find out that the AI he's been using was made by Lex Luthor, and so that's why it's been calling him Captain Luthor this whole time, even though, again, his real name is John Henry Irons. We have, through flashbacks, we see how Lois Lane, who was his wife in his Earth, how she was killed by evil Superman, and then I guess his daughter Natalie was also killed by evil Superman. We still have to fill in some of those gaps, but I could assume that's kind of how that happened. The last thing we saw of his daughter was he was going out to fight evil Superman. He said he's going to be right back, and so I'm assuming that he's not coming right back. I'm assuming that his daughter ends up being killed by evil Superman, and then somehow he ends up in the other Earth that we're in now. We also see that the armor that he's had this whole time he made with his daughter. And so I think I liked seeing how, he had a really good relationship with his daughter. I like seeing that in the flashbacks. And so throughout the episode, Clark and Lois are kind of investigating stuff about the Stranger. They find out all the information that we find out. It all culminates at the end when Superman and the Stranger, they have a battle. John Henry Irons, he has this hammer thing that can helps him battle Superman with it. It kind of reminded me of Mjolnir from Thor movies. But so he has that. He's going up against Superman. He's pretty much kind of winning, and then Jordan and Jonathan Kent, they arrive. They save him because Jordan has his new super hearing, which I'll get to his plotline in that episode in a little bit. But so they arrive there, they save Superman, and then Superman starts attacking John Henry Irons, and Lois stops him. She stops him from killing him, and we're seeing the whole Lois is the key thing. We're seeing the whole Lois is very important to Clark not becoming evil Superman. I like that that's kind of a plotline in here. This isn't a new concept, Lois being the key. Of course, that's kind of that's been a big thing in the DCEU, Snyder, DC stuff, so it's kind of been a big thing in those movies, but I think here it's done a lot better than it's been done in the movies, but it's not really, it's more about the, not really a cohesive storyline throughout the movies, rather than just the premise not being good. Because I think that is a really good idea of having Lois be the key to Superman not being evil. I like that we kind of see that in that moment of like, really Lois Lane is kind of keeping Clark on the ground, keeping him like good, keeping him from turning evil. So I like that we see that there. Then our other plotline in this episode is Jordan. He has his new super hearing. That's was going on in the previous episode with him having the headaches and heat vision going off. It's because he now has super hearing, and it's his body. He has to get used to having super hearing now. And so I think that they kind of did that so that way they could kind of sideline Jordan for a little bit so they could focus more on, just having Clark and Lois investigating John Henry Irons and not have to deal with Jordan drama stuff. They do have that still in this episode. They have Jordan over here, Jonathan talking to Sarah, and he kind of gets jealous, like, oh, what are you trying to steal my girl, Jonathan? And I think that needed a little bit more time for, I think, since it's the B plot of the episode, I think it needed a bit more time for it to actually be an interesting plot line. I think it was just kind of like, really, Jordan, like, you're getting mad at Jonathan for this? What are you doing? So, I mean, it's not, unlike Jordan to overreact to things like this, but I just feel like it's just kind of like, really, dude, like, I mean, you just broke his arm, and now you're getting mad at him that now you think he's trying to steal your not girlfriend. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like that was kind of a weird plotline. It just needed to have some kind of family drama stuff as the B plotline with Jordan, and I don't think it worked nearly as well as some of the other stuff they've done, but I still have it there. I think that the resolution of it was a lot better. Having them have to team up to save Superman, and then I liked the scene where they kind of apologize and they start kind of talking about how cool it was driving the truck and saving their father and all that stuff. So I thought that was cool, and then we kind of also have another plot in it where Clark and Lois are wondering, should we tell Jordan and Jonathan about the stranger and everything, and so they decide at the end that they'll be safer if they do tell them. And then I guess our other plotline in this episode is Lana Cushing is she's in her new job, and she's kind of I guess Morgan Edge wants her to hire people for the whatever experiment kind of things he's trying to do, and she knows that that's not good. So she's trying to kind of steer people away from it. She's trying, there's she doesn't want to give her husband the job. She doesn't really want to give her friend the job, but her friend gets the job anyway. And so that's kind of the plot line for Lana. Like, I think that's interesting, having her have to kind of be on the inside and have to kind of work really hard to stay on Morgan Edge's good side, but also not put her friends and family in danger. I think that's interesting. We see that a little bit more in episode 8, which I'll start talking about now. So I'll start off with that plot line because, this episode, just like episode 7, deals a lot more with the overarching story of the season, more than the family drama stuff. But we do have that again with the Lana Cushing trying to steer her husband away from getting the job. She has to lie to him, say that Morgan Edge doesn't want, doesn't think he's leadership material, doesn't want him to have the job, even though in reality, Morgan Edge actually wants Kyle for the job, but she knows that it's not good, so she has to, lie to him, and he's kind of mad about that, causing him to miss Sarah's audition, which is another plot line in this episode dealing with kind of family drama stuff. So Sarah decides to audition for, I think, the school musical, and so Kyle, at first she's like, she doesn't really want to do it, but Kyle gets her to do it. They practice, but when the audition comes, he doesn't show up because he's, I guess, out drinking because he's mad that he didn't get the job. And so Jordan ends up stepping up and gets over his fear of playing the piano because he's just afraid of just playing piano in front of people. And so they both conquer their fears together and audition together. He plays the piano for her, she sings, and I think that was nice. I think we're seeing sort of the blossoming relationship for them, so I'm excited to see that moving forward. So that's kind of everything with the Cushings in these 2 episodes. And so the other thing with family drama in this episode, we get drama between Lois and Jonathan. They go exploring John Henry Irons' RV, and Lois sees pictures of her and John Henry Irons in that Earth with their daughter Natalie. And so after this, she's kind of upset, and Jonathan's wondering why. The audience is also wondering why she's acting so upset about this. Obviously, you're like, okay, well, I mean, seeing the person that you're married to in another universe, yeah, that could get you upset, but it seems like there's something more than that. And so Jonathan ends up going to the RV to try to figure out why. The RV ends up going on lockdown mode and starts taking security measures to try to kill him, and so he's trapped in there, and Superman comes just in time to save him, and Lois gets really mad at him for almost dying, and this prompts Clark to tell her to go to a therapist, and this leads to finding out about a miscarriage that she had, and they were going to name their daughter Natalie, and, until the miscarriage, and so now you're like, oh, that's why, and I think they did that well to kind of, set up, she's upset about, what she saw in the RV for some reason, and you find out, oh, it's just the miscarriage, and I think they did that well. And so at the end of the episode, Lois apologizes to Jonathan, and I think the acting in that scene was really good on both Lois Lane and I think especially Jonathan's part. I think the actor who plays Jonathan did a very good job in that scene, and I just think they did a good job at just conveying this really good mother-son moment of saying, like, they're both just the normal people in the superhero family, and so I like that moment there. I think, and the acting was very good, and so then we have following with John Henry Irons, the kind of main plot line, focusing a lot on the overarching story of the season. I was actually very surprised by the way the route that they took his character, kind of making him by the end more of an ally instead of the villain. I like that they went that route with it, and they have him drive off. At the end, they have him tell the AI to change, to delete the profile of Captain Luthor and to change it to his name, which it does seem like that was the option the whole time. Why didn't he just do that? But it's just more of just, for the audience to make you think that it's going to be Lex Luthor, but it's not actually. So, it seems like, yeah, it seems like in the world in the world of the show, it doesn't really make sense for him to have done that, but it's kind of just like in the X-Men movies when Mystique, flashes her eyes yellow to let you know that it's her. It's like, why would she do that? It's just for the audience. So he drives off, and I'm assuming we're not gonna see him for a little bit until until the kind of big battle happens, and we need to get him back in here to help out. And that brings us to Morgan Edge's army, possible army. So John Henry Irons, he says that in his Earth there was an army of Kryptonians that Superman teams up with, and they destroy his Earth. And so then the characters start having this theory that maybe Morgan Edge is making a Kryptonian army. He's putting Kryptonian sentience into human bodies, and that's how people are getting powers. And I think that's very interesting. I think if that's actually the route that they're going, which I would assume it is, because why would they say that and have that not happen? That just sounds really awesome to have Superman going up against an army of Kryptonians. Uh, that sounds pretty cool. So I'm excited to see that happen down the line in the finale of the show. I think that would be very cool. And yeah, that sounds like just a very interesting uh, idea for a Superman show to go. So I like I like the direction that they're going with the season, what they're setting up. I'm excited. I'm excited for the future of this show, of this season. So yeah, that I think wraps up my thoughts on episode 7 and 8. They both really took the story of the season forward a pretty good bit. Gave us a lot of answers on the John Henry Irons stuff. And we got some ideas of what Morgan Edge is actually doing in Smallville. What's his actual plan? Why is he giving people powers? What's the whole thing? So, I think I really like these past 2 episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if the next few episodes kind of don't really do a lot with the overarching story. If they just kind of go back to just kind of focusing more on the family drama stuff. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they kind of keep going with kind of continuing the overarching story of the season. So I'm excited to see what happens next. Also, this show is kind of making me think that a Batman show in the Arrowverse would be pretty cool because, until this show, I feel like the Arrowverse had kind of strayed away from Batman and Superman. They kind of, they were just doing Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, just kind of, not like the heroes who are like household names. And so I think it would be really cool if they do a Batman show. Like they have Batwoman, but that's different because it's not Bruce Wayne. It's a different character. And so I think it would be really cool if they just did Batman, Bruce Wayne, Batman show, and they could do interesting like take on it like they're doing with Superman and Lois. I think they could do a really good job. They could do what they did with Arrow, at least in the beginning, but just with Batman. I think that would be pretty cool. I would think they could probably do a good job with that. So I'm hoping that's something that they would do down the line. But anyway, who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But all I know is Superman and Lois is really good. Episodes 8 and 7. I really enjoyed. Please comment below your thoughts on the episodes and the video. And please remember to give this video a like. Consider subscribing to the channel and maybe check out some of my other videos. And with that said, that's a wrap.